What's up, amigos? Coming Jaime here today. We're gonna go over some Cardfight lore. So this is really exciting. We just got a little bit more lore on the official website. This is gonna be more of the prehistoric history leading up to overdress, and so more and more in chapters actually be written as we're going through these couple weeks, as we're leading up to more releases of the English release for overdress. So I'm very excited about that. So today, really, I'm just gonna cover 3 chapters that I think that is very interesting compared to some of the chapters. The beginning, you can read that on your own. That's a little more of like how Cray and the Earth came to be, and of course some of the Cray elementals that came to be. But I'm going to fast forward a little bit to some more of the interesting parts of where chapter 5 covers more of the actual how the clans started to become clans themselves. Chapter 6 will actually start going over what happened with Gyze actually rose, and we saw a lot of the apostles actually helping Gyze's mission to like destroy Cray. And then the next chapter would actually show what happened after that and what are the things that they're recovering, and also the last remaining clans forming. So I figured let's touch base on that because that sounds more interesting to go into. Also, quick sponsorship shout out to Next Level Gaming for hooking me up with this Stowe Chaos shirt. So if you guys love the new nations for overdress, there are different shirts for every nation, so I definitely recommend checking out the website. Not only that, Jaime also has a lot of Vanguard related products like stickers, keychains, and stuff like that. If you use the link down in the description below, you can get a 10% discount on your next purchase today. So definitely check it out and support the channel. So getting right into it, we start with chapter 5. This is called The Early Second God, the Deity, Messiah, the Creator, and the Magical Science Civilization. As you can see, this is not perfect English, so again, it's Google Translate, so bear with me. So it starts off with really the new blessing. And so as we can see, there's the new Messiah coming out of there. And they call it the Creator God Messiah. So before there was the Genesis Dragon Messiah, so now this is the return of this new Messiah where it had left off before. With this blessing, Messiah has brought new blessings to the world and has completely rewritten the laws of the world. It brought magic, quote unquote, to the planet Cray as a solution to the depletion of resources. The planet Cray, which was on the verge of collapse of civilization, will now gradually begin to recover from here. So a little pretense is that before the God Messiah was in presence, but when they left, the resources around the world started depleting. And so this is the second coming to bring back those resources and start really gradually building from that and recovering in a sense. So that's where that context is. Going further into it, the magical effect extended to the entire planet of Cray. Races that go well with magic, such as dragons, angels, demons, and nobles, have particularly benefited from it. And with the development of a new civilization that should be called a magical science civilization, the power map of the world has been greatly rewritten. So we're starting to see more of the clans actually start becoming a thing. And so this talks about the variety of blooming clans. So they start out with the Sanctuary region. So those who see the future, the Sanctuary region is of the Warring States period where knights compete, and you got predictors gathered in a certain spiritual area and begin to give advice to people. This group later developed into the giant information consultant called the Oracle Think Tank. So that was like, oh, that's cool. That's the Oracle Think Tank clan, which predicts and analyzes every future from tomorrow's weather to the world crisis. So, as we can see, we have Amaterasu over here, and more of the regions too. This starts off, remember some of the names might have either got butchered by Google Translate, or they might have been called something at first before it changed into something that we're more familiar with. So, just keep that in mind. So, with the Antarctica region, the supernova martial arts group in the Antarctica region, the reconstruction of the planet Cray was attracting attention outside to the star system. The exchanges with alien civilizations were revitalized. So there have been already instances where the planet Cray actually did some transactions with aliens. So think about creatures from outside of the world. That's basically their aliens. And since the sporting events that continue to be the centerpiece of interstellar tourism had begun in this era, it is the launch of a new super comprehensive fighting group called the Nova Grappler. That's so cool. With weapons and magic and supernatural power. So we start seeing Nova Grappler as a clan becoming a thing now. And so going into the next continent, it's called Dark Continent. So this area has received the greatest benefits of magic is the Dark Continent. And on the other hand, in this region where magical power gathered too much and became miasma, the health of those who did not tolerate excessive magical power was undermined. And so in this dark land where magical power rules everything, those who excel in magical power are called demon kings and have begun to fight for supremacy. So we start to see some of the dark irregular vibes coming from that. And so it'll go into a little more depth as we go more into the next paragraphs. And so we have dark aliens. And so some of the demon kings end up as a contraindicted magic That's an interesting word. At the end of these dark experiments and evolution, many individuals with unique abilities were created. Eventually, the peculiar individuals who were hated, even by their relatives, signed an agreement with a certain demon king and called themselves Dark Irregulars. And with an overwhelming fighting power, he built a place for those in the same situation. So as you can see, we have a mono here. So I think that's the demon king that really started it all. And we go into another region, Mega Archipelago region. Food ruler. So this is the region where it's blessed with nature. 2 clans have been set up. One is Neonectar, which has grown into a global grain of major against the backdrop of dramatically increased harvesting power through magical science. Later, he was set to dominate the kitchens of all nations, giving Zoo a tremendous voice. So Neonectar is really basically where they give all the food to all the clans of Cray, and so that's how they're able to survive. They're well known with that, and so that's why they say they dominate the kitchens of all nations. So those who know ignorance, and the other is great nature, a comprehensive university where wise men from all over the world gather as learning center for studying magical science. Business tie-ups with each country to foster industry and secure research funds. There is no doubt that this animal clan's attitude contributed to the development of magical science. So we have Great Nature, the clan that is actually involved in studying, researching, and all that kind of stuff. So this one, I'm a little confused. So I don't know if it's a Google Translate, Dragonia continent. I don't know if it's Dragon Empire still, but I'm going to stick with Dragonia. So Dragon Heaven, Dragon of Earth, Dragon of Darkness. So with the disappearance of the founder Genesis Dragon, the 6 progenitor dragons have been reborn into a new clan. And as a result, the dragon diverged into various races as the Flame Dragon. As it was around the time that the Aksha book was built to enshrine the dragon egg that holds the power of the sun too as well. And so you can see Novell over here being a reference at that point. And eventually the military power of Dragonia, 3 armed groups emerged as clans. And so they began to fight for their hegemony. So Kagero, the champion of the heavens, whose core is the flame dragon and puts deserts and plains under power. Tachikaze, where the dino dragon and his compatriots overrun the earth and dominate the jungle. And then the abyss dragon and the shinobi no mo, I guess Murakumo, are the Nubatama who rule the night. So this is, I think, where Nubatama and Murakumo kind of like still blend as one clan. But as you can see, it's divided into those 3 regions, or those 3 armies. And so after a war yielded that, the first emperor selected was from the Kagero. So obviously, you know, Dragon Empire with Kagero being a thing. And so that's where it says the military empire, Dragon Empire, was founded. So that's where Dragonia becomes into more of a Dragon Empire. So I think that the Google Translate actually did a good job on that. So, fast forward, going into the sea area, we see that the dead who never die at the end of this chapter. Let's look at the vast ocean left behind. With the development of magic and various industries have developed, the wealth has been accumulated and the international criminal groups whose roots are in the sea have emerged. It is a pirate group called granblue, where immortal races that transcend the reason of life and death gather. So we can start seeing the form of granblue. We have Baskerk over here. And guess what? The absolute justice. The pirates who do not have to be afraid of hunger, thirst, illness, or drowning were too vicious on the sea. To counter this, the marine type nations gathered to establish the Marines called Terra Australis, but then also called the Navy's Aqua Force, has been established, betting on the prestige on the new nation and advocating an absolute justice. So this is where the Aqua Force clan came to be, as the Navy's Aqua Force in quote, and so that's how they got the name too. And so even in this era, people are sometimes in conflict and sometimes bleeding. However, it was a powerful movement of life that overcame resource depletion, and the people's eyes were on the future. A fleeting peace where a wide variety of clans sprout and the entire planet Cray dreams of the future. That was the early second era. And so as you can see, even though there was a lot of chaos in the sense of blooming clans, but there was a lot of things that came out of it, and that's where the clans first came to be, and they're looking forward to more in the future. Now, this is just chapter 5, and we'll start getting into the meat in chapter 6. So let's get right into it. Chapter 6, the Mid-Second God War. And so the seal of the deity Gyze. So the dragon god of destruction. It was the young demon king in Darkstone that triggered the despair. So this kind of preludes to something that we've seen in J era as the apostles, but we'll get into that. And so in an era that was prosperous due to the new blessing magic brought by the creator god Messiah in the Dark Zone, the country with the highest magical powers in the world gather. Those who excel in magical powers are called demon kings, are fighting for victory. There was a young and ambitious demon king. The name is Gastil. He researched for overwhelming power and came up with a crucial fact. The creator Messiah brought the hope of magic, but at the same time created despair. In other words, the fact that the world has been distorted to do a major rewrite of the laws of the world, and an unprecedentedly huge emptiness is approaching. So something is happening where he had found out that the Creator Messiah not only brought something good as a magic, but there was something behind that despair. And so he dives into a little more about that. So it, in quotes, has infinite power, overwhelming power that surpasses even the Creator God Messiah, which can be said to be the world itself. Gyze has been fascinated by it. In quotes, power is everything. As a demon king, he has been seeking stronger power than anyone else and decides to summon it. Perhaps the world will perish. You look amazing. Interesting Google Translate. What a trivial price to get that power. So he wants that power, and he sees even if the world perish is a low price. So it doesn't matter to him. Unfortunately, Gyze was a genius, and so he called himself the Bishop of Evil, and he succeeds in summoning it. In other words, is the advent of the destructive deity, Gyze, the destruction god, and so which is paired up with the god of creation, Messiah. So as we can see, we have Gyze and Gyze over here, and you can see this is how Gyze even came to be, and it's because of Gyze's doing. And so the apostle of Gyze, and so this is where we start diving into more of like the apostles from G era, from the Chrono series. And as we can see, that it wasn't just Gyze, there was a bunch of other characters that were following in Gyze, right? And so this is where we start seeing some of those people in here, or those units, I guess I would say. So when Gyze awoke, there was a hero who sensed it and decided to subdue it earlier than anyone else. Valeos, the first marshal of Aquaforce, the guardian of the sea who advocates absolute justice. He led the Aquaforce to fight and was defeated. So he led the army to stop this being, but then it was defeated right away. And so there's more to this. So even though he lost, this is what happens. Valeo was a rare hero. He was so strong and talented that he completely understood Gyze. The destructive god Gyze is an incarnation of nothingness, with infinite power and potential. It is natural that the world is born from emptiness and returns to emptiness. Then the destruction of the world was brought about Gyze is absolute justice. Since then, Valeos has dedicated allegiance to Gyze. So with Aquaforce and even some other clans like Dimension Please, there's a talk about justice and absolute justice. And so depending on those units and how they view that absolute justice, they may align themselves with beings like Gyze. And so in this example, Valeos really agreed the ways that Gyze thought, and so that's why he just kind of like joined in. So it's not like you can't beat him, you can join him, but he was just like, no, I understand what you're trying to accomplish, so I'm going to join you. So that's how Valeos became an apostle. And so there was another influential person that had opposite belief to Valeos, Gradora, the female chief of the Criminal Association Mega Colony. She saw that Gyze as the covenant presence to increase the territory of her cute children, so her mega colony bugs. If the world is destroyed, then the uninhabited land should be filled with her children. And so as you can see, Valeos and Gradora over here. And so in this way, the destructive god Gyze, who obtained the power of the apostles, Castillo, Valeos, and Gradora, embarks on the destruction of the world. He poured his power as the deity into the Cray elemental and produced 6 Xerath dragons, a living disaster that could be called his own alter ego. And so just a quick recap is that Gradora joined in because not because she agreed with Valeos. She agreed because of Gyze. She felt that she can also have her mega colony people just be able to take over the rest of the world, since they would be uninhabitable because of the destruction of Gyze. And the production of the 6 Xerath dragons, as you can see, Ultima, Drachma, and so on, they were basically on par with Gyze's power. And so there are alter egos used to help destroy the planet Cray. And so this is where things start to get a little more. So things are happening. Where's our hero? And this is where Immortal Holy Sword section goes into it. And so the war, later called as the Second God War, began as a one-sided overrun. Gyze's army and the Xerath dragons have caused natural disasters around the world. Each country bats prestige and tries to resist, but fails. Towns, villages, and even small countries were destroyed, and despair spread among the people. So it was a very dark time. Not a good time to live there. Around this time, there was a young knight in Sanctuary region. The name is Fetus. He struggled to protect people but suffered from his helplessness. One day, a wise man named Xenon appears in front of him. Following his guidance and overcoming the challenges, he gets a holy sword deep in Sanctuary that no one could ever pull out. It's almost like the Sword in the Stone kind of story. But as you can see, Guiding Sage Xenon is the one that appears in history to help heroes become heroes, and that's where Thetis becomes the hero in this age. And so he wielded the power of the Holy Sword and protected the people, and aspiring knights gathered across the border. Eventually, the knights who protected the people were called royal paladins. So as you can see, the royal paladins were formed and become the hope of the people. Around the same time, there were other groups that were active across national borders. Angels who are committed in treating injured and suffering people around the world. No matter how dangerous the place, this group of people who rush to the battlefield and treat them regardless of the camp became the medical clan known as Angel Feather. So as you can see, Angel Feather became to be the success of the two clans lit a fire of hope for the desperate people of Sanctuary region. The power to confront the apostles of Gyze and the Zero Dragons increased throughout Sanctuary, and the movement spread all over the world, and the world stood on the edge of extinction before it began to resist. So as you can see, this is where the fight really started and everything. And as we continue, the front is a stalemate to do the desperate resistance of the people. The Second Gaia War has been prolonged. During this period, research was conducted in various places to resist Gyze's army, and it seems that military magic technology has greatly evolved. So this is where even the war has been lasting for a while. They've been doing research, and now technology has been helping them and has greatly evolved. So then each clan from each country received the blessings of the Messiah and fight together. The final battle with Gyze's army was reached, and the Messiah won. So Messiah comes and helps the fight as well, and they win. However, Gyze's power was so strong that it could not be completely destroyed. Therefore, Messiah pours most of its power and seals Gyze into various ways. And so at first was the Aquaforce. And so that's where it became the core of Gyze's army. The Aquaforce was sealed in a space-time gap. That's where we see in the story with Leon trying to release Aquaforce from being sealed. I think it's related to that at that point. So that's what happened. In addition, it is recorded that the 6 Zero dragons can be said were transferred and sealed by the hero Thetis to the overlapping world with himself in order to separate from Gyze. And so Thetis sacrificed himself to really take away the Zero dragons away from Gyze as far as possible. So that was the whole idea. And Gyze itself sealed the south pole of the planet Cray by Messiah himself. The 3 Gyze apostles have disappeared, and no records have been recorded after the end of the war. So no one knows what happened to the apostles, and then that's where we find out in Jira where they reappear and revive Gyze and stuff like that. And so just to finish this chapter, the effect of the interference by these messiahs was so great that the distance between the 2 overlapping worlds became even shorter, and that the destiny becomes even more intertwined. Messiah then uses up most of its power and goes into a long-term dormancy. This is the end of the long war called the Second Gaia War. So as you can start to see, this is building up to the Vanguard series we know, is that the planet Cray and the planet Earth are intertwined somehow, and you can see Psyqualia, you can see the units, all that kind of stuff, like the avatars, they're just so interconnected. And this is pretty much leading up to that. And so we'll just wrap up with chapter 7 here. And so this is more of the second god, the dormancy, the dimensional door, the DD, Genesis, Dragon, Messiah. Again, Google Translate. So this is more talking about the reconstruction from the end of the war, right? So the end of the Second Gaia War had various effects on the planet Cray. The most affected was Terra Australis, which controls the waters. And so with the seal of the Navy clan Aquaforce that supported the security of the sea, the pirate clan granblue begins to rage again. So granblue becomes more hectic, with Aquaforce not really being around to control that balance. It seems that a number of powerful pirates have emerged and competed supremacy of the Seven Seas. Yeah, Captain Nightmas, right? Since then, some of the most influential pirates have jointly signed an agreement to the government of Terra Australis. And so the agreement stipulates rope tension, jurisdiction, cooperation in subduing marine monsters, mutual assistance in the event of a disaster, the right to use ports. It shows that it has character of a privateer unit with respect to other countries as security maintenance organization. And that's where Captain Nightmas is shown here, where there is some kind of order in the seas of Cray. As the security of the sea became more stable, the trade and the overseas travel became more active around the time the Mermaid, Diva, and Bermuda Triangle were gaining worldwide popularity. Their performance called later Bermuda Triangle became an unprecedented platinum ticket and seemed to be so popular that it said that the gunshots disappeared on the day of the live. And so they went, it's almost like a concert kind of thing, and whenever they appeared on concert, it brought peace or something. I find it hard to believe, but it is what it is. That's the history of Cray. And so now let's move on to perspective and to another continent, Antarctica, the center of scientific civilization, the most suffering from resource depletion. It was also undergoing some major changes. And so just to skip a little bit, they were fighting over some of the right to intervene on planet Cray, was finally on the verge of a space war. So tensions were high. They almost had a civil war with the space people. And then just before that, the Dimension Police succeeded in attribution, and each star system arrived at a negotiation at the table. And so I'm sure I'm not sure what kind of bargaining was done at the meeting, but for some reason it seems that it was decided to settle with Nova Grappler, and that the Declaration of the Champion, who won the championship, Stargate, was founded. And so whatever was decided, even the writer of the history was saying that I don't know what caused it, but whatever reason, Dimension Police settled with Nova Grappler. And as we can see, the forming of Stargate. And so there is another country that emerged during this period, and is the Dark Zone of Demon Kings. In the first place, even after Gastille, one of the Demon Kings, revealed Gyze, the other Demon Kings continued their own route without following. And after the common enemy was sealed, the battle between Demon Kings naturally continued. However, the result of a dramatic strengthening of military magic during the Second God War, the damage caused by the conflict increased dramatically. Finally, an agreement was signed between the Demon Kings, and it seems that the Dark Zone was founded. And so you can see the actual Dark Zone nation was founded at this point. And so after that, they lost entertainment of war between the Demon Kings. They seemed to start running with all their might for their hobbies. One Demon King held an eternal night feast and greatly supported those who liven up the feast. The Midnight Circus group called Pale Moon, which later became world famous, is a representative example. And so that's where Pale Moon came to be, because the Demon Kings got bored because they weren't fighting each other or killing each other. So let's have some people to liven up the feast. So Pale Moon. And also, as to replace a direct war, some Demon Kings seem to be devoted to winning or losing sports. One of them is the arm ball game Gallus Ball. The team called Spike Brothers is famous for the ball game that later gained popularity across national borders. So you can see Spike Brothers came to be from that. So it's funny how that came to be, those two clans. I didn't know until I read this. I was like, that's kind of funny. And then lastly, the Dimensional Door. These positive factors were not only changes due to the second end of the war. Gyze, the god of destruction, was born from the distortion of the world that was once created by Messiah the Creator, that to bring magic. So then Gyze was a consolidating the distortion, was sealed, and Messiah was suppressing the distortion, fell asleep with all his mind, and as a result, the distortion was scattered and spread all over the world in a new way. That world ran out of fate, was fragile, unstable, and it was when it was born. The distortion of the world became a hole called the Door of Dimension, and the genius of it nothingness overflowed from the holes open all over the world. The heroes of each country and clan counter it by subduing those called dimensional demon beasts and closing the dimensional door. However, it was just a phenomenon like a small earthquake that occurred frequently before a big earthquake. And so that's how this chapter ends. So they kind of highlighted that they're already seeing some attempts of the void coming back, and so they were taking care of it with the Door of Dimension. And as you can see, they're going to go over some more chapters into more, and that's where I want to stop. I know that was a lot, but honestly, this is really cool stuff. I just wanted to be able to share it with you guys. I hope you enjoyed it, at least listen to it or anything like that. When I did my lore video about the overdress, what happened, 3,000 years later, I got a lot of positive feedback, and so I just wanted to do something like this again, and this I felt like was the opportunity for that. And again, if you guys like this content, give it a like, comment down below, share with some friends that like this, and subscribe, of course. And again, check out the Stochea shirts and other Nation shirts at Next Level Gaming. Links are in the description below. So have a good day, amigos. Bye!